Hey monkeys, how you doing? Damian Keys here. Welcome to number 15 of the Ask Damo show. If you want to ask a question, all you got to do is hashtag Ask Damo, stick that on Twitter, and we will find the best questions. And every week we'll do this show and we'll answer the questions. So with me as always is Melissa.
Hello.
So we've got some questions.
We've got some
Thank
questions.
God for that. We've got a mug, the Working Man mug. I'm a big fan of, and we have some parcels.
We do indeed.
We do have some
parcels.
parcels. We have parcels and prezzies. Look at this. So this is the bit where we're filling up the wall. As you can see, the wall is starting to get a bit more full. So we've got stickers, we've got posters, we've got signed CDs, we've got pictures. Information here, by the way, on the news and stuff. So let's see what we can have. Let's see what we got today. Ooh,
it's pink.
That is pink. That is pink. Oh, box tape. Look at this. Do you know what?
I really like that.
That, and it's small, it's my size. That is something I am definitely going to wear. Because people will see me coming. Thanks very much to the guys in box tape. I've been watching your journey quite closely. I do enjoy watching that, all the interesting stuff in there. That is amazing. Thank you very much. What have we got here? Ooh, this one's been done with like tissues.
So fancy.
Ooh, look at that. That's really nice. Jack Ellis. Jack.
That's really
I
cool.
love the artwork on Jack's stuff. That is fantastic. Size small again. People are getting it right. They're not thinking I'm a right fat bastard. Thank you very much. That is going to go on our wall because that's going to go on me. That's going to go on the wall. And this is our little one. What is this one? What is this? Let's see what it is.
I've been so intrigued by this.
Have you? You need to get it out. This is. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I don't even know what it is. It's probably going to open up and go, fuck Damo.
Yeah. Like,
It says.
Oh my god!
That's amazing. I love that.
That's the best thing ever.
That is the
greatest
greatest thing. I think that's the best thing. Look at that. It's a mini one. Look at that.
Can you put it in your car?
That is going on the front of my car. Damo says, "Don't be a dick."
Don't be a dick.
There's a t-shirt. I'm gonna make a t-shirt out of that. That is absolutely brilliant. So where's that come from? I need to know who that's come from. It's come from our old mate Paul Newman. That's who it's come from. I love Paul. Paul, I haven't caught up with you since I've been Singapore, but I promise you I will give you a shout because I'm going to be coming and seeing you, and we've got some work to do. So thank you so much for that. That is absolutely brilliant. So on with the show. What questions have we got today?
All right, question number one, quite topical at the moment, which is what are your feelings on Snapchat from James?
Oh, it's a biggie, innit? So
It's
Snapchat, everyone, as you read that, everybody listening just kind of went, oh. Snapchat was just so massive. It was the thing, wasn't
So
it?
big.
And it was so big, and the guy who owned Snapchat, he was worth, get this, he was worth more than Donald Trump. This was a month ago. He was worth more than Donald Trump. He was worth more than Richard Branson.
No, more than Richard Branson?
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's what. He was worth more than Richard Branson. He was worth more than Donald Trump. However, since the decline of Snapchat and how since they floated it, since the IPO, it's gone down so heavily that now he's only worth as much as Oprah Winfrey. So, you know,
Poor guy.
he's just down to his last 3.8 bill. So when he was up to at least 5.86 bill. So, you know, the thing with Snapchat is there's two parts to this. There's the story of what's happened to Snapchat, which we're all aware. Instagram came along and punched them in the face and just stole all their ideas. And Snapchat had one major flaw, and that major flaw is you can't find people. It's such a personal thing that you have to be able to say, here's my Snapchat. No, it's not my name because someone else has got John Smith, so it has to be John Smith 872. And therefore, finding people is hard. There's no search engine. Also, there's no recommended people. Oh, you like this? Maybe you'll like this person as well. And because of that, they're also not featuring other people's Snapchat content. There's no way of them saying, do you know what's the most popular thing at the moment? It's this. So it was a really fantastic thing that we all had, and we all really enjoyed sending sort of secret pictures to ourselves. Because let's face it, the real reason why Snapchat started was so that we could send nude pictures of ourselves for 10 seconds and just go, and here's my dick, by the way. And in 10 seconds, it's gone.
I wasn't expecting you to say that.
But in 10 seconds, it's gone, and nobody knows. So that's why it got popular amongst the kids. And then obviously businesses came involved, and then Instagram did their thing, and it's gone. So where is it right now? Other than the fact that the IPO has literally lost 60%, and can they bring it round? The answer to that is yes, they can bring it round, because we're still dealing with a multi-billion-pound company, and they've only got to make one tweak, and then all of a sudden we'll all go, oh yeah. The problem is they've been struggling with the tweaks that they've been making. So they've updated it a bunch of times. They brought out those Snapchat glasses. Do you remember them? The spectacle snap specs. And everyone kind of went, oh, that's really exciting. But again, just like everything else, I felt that they really missed a trick and fucked up with that. Because when that came out, I was like, oh, that's great. I really want a pair of those. Could I get a pair? No. And I think this idea of sold out, which we talk about a lot, is amazing. The power of sold out. But give us a chance. You know, like if you live in New York or London, and then there's like a couple hundred pairs, and you have to go to New York or you have to go to London, but they didn't roll out afterwards. So there was no chance for the people who aren't in the major cities to go and find them so much. And then all of a sudden they were going for hundreds of pounds on eBay to get a pair of specs, and you're like, oh, fuck, can't be arsed. And then all of a sudden we just went, oh, I don't care anymore. And they went. And now who gives a shit about specs? Nobody. And so everybody, including most of you guys, have actually migrated off Snapchat and just gone, oh, I'm not really fussed anymore. As have I, as have you, as have everyone in this office. And so can they bring it around? Yes. But are we on Snapchat? No. So what I would say is this definitely leads to opportunity, because people still are on Snapchat. So I was the last person, I don't know if you know this, technically, I was the last person to jump ship from MySpace. Everyone in the whole world left MySpace except me. And there was a day where I was looking around being like, somebody talk to me. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to go onto Facebook. And I loved MySpace. I was really a MySpace person. I loved it. And everyone left me, and I was just there. But
the last person.
I was just me. It was just literally me. And what's his name? The guy who's Tom. It was me and MySpace Tom being like, "You still there, Tom?" And he was like, "I'm still there, Damian." And so, you know, I think the same thing with Snapchat. There are still people who love Snapchat because it still offers something different to Instagram. So Instagram have stole all the best bits. However, there's some stuff that Instagram cannot steal, which is the power of something that only lasts for 10 seconds and then you never see it ever again. You know, there is something to be said about a really fun strategy around Snapchat. The problem is there's not as many people on there. But if you think of it like this, if you are, I say this quite a lot, if you want to teach singing for a living, what do you need? You need 20 students. That's it. You don't need 1 million students because you can't fit them in the day. You need 20 students. You know, if you are in a niche band, you're not looking at having 50 million people buy your album. Those days are gone. What you're looking for to start with is building an audience. And if you've got an audience of 1,000 people, then that 1,000 people can really do damage. They can really look after you, and they can put you in a position where you're making money. And if you think about it, can you find 1,000 people who are still absolute full-on Snapchatters? 100% you can. So where we're at with Snapchat is there's massive opportunity, because one of the things that crops up all the time is noise. You know, everyone's on Facebook. It's like, yeah, so it's really hard to cut through the noise. And then Snapchat makes a couple of blunders. Instagram comes along, takes all their shit. Nobody's on Snapchat, and now everyone's going, oh, fuck Snapchat. No one's on it anymore. It's like, well, you can't win. Like, there's no noise on Snapchat. Now's the time. And people are going, no one uses it. Everybody's on Instagram, so everyone's like, oh, it's really hard because of all the noise that's there. So it's like, well, pick one. Which do you like? Yeah. If you want, if you're just going for hardcore super fans of whatever it is that you do, then you can still win on Snapchat, and I wouldn't give it up just yet. However, saying that, it's not looking particularly good for Snapchat yet. But it's only going to take one slight tweak, and all of a sudden there's a good chance that we go, actually, do you know what, maybe we'll get back on Snapchat for another one, because it wasn't that long ago that we said a very similar thing about Instagram. In fact, Facebook floated, I don't know if you know this, but Facebook floated its on the IPO. It IPO'd it several years ago, and Facebook lost 60% of its stock share. 60%. Like, now you look back and you go, Facebook is...
indestructible.
It's indestructible, yeah, that's a good word for it. It's just a monster, it's indestructible. But when Facebook went through the process of the IPO, everyone said, you fucked it, you've gone the same way as MySpace, you've done a stupid thing, 60% has lost off it. And did Facebook come back? 100% they came back. So I'm not saying that Snapchat is dead. It isn't looking good, but there is still I don't care whether Snapchat goes. I don't care whether Snapchat stays. What I care about is that you are able to find an audience and get noticed. And I think there is still mileage in Snapchat until it goes. And when it goes, fine, you have something else. But if you can still build relationships using Snapchat, then why not still use it until it literally is, until it's like me and Tom on MySpace and there's no one else there anymore. So my feelings on Snapchat is I'm not using it as much. I should use it more. But what's the incentive when I'm not getting as much engagement back and I'm getting 10 times the engagement on Instagram? Well, the incentive is just to keep people warm and just keep going. I'm still here, because should everyone get back onto Snapchat, it would be good to have that momentum. Yeah, that's the main thing for it. So I'm still watching it. I don't know what's happening, but I do know that they've lost so much stock share that it's dangerous for the company.
It's worrying. Okay, so next one's from Dan, and it says, "Hi Damo, I'm actually not a musician, but I found your social media tips really helpful for my business. I'm trying to start a skate t-shirt company and was wondering what platform you may advise is the best for building a following. At the moment I'm set up on all of them, but would like to focus on one that I could expand to a larger audience in the UK. Hope you might be able to help."
Yes, I do, and I'm really glad people are starting to find this who aren't just musicians, because it's amazing how many times a week someone says, I'm not a musician, but I watch your content because I still think it applies to my business or my life. And I think that's really important, that we're not just dealing with music, because you should be able to take these skills as a musician and make your own business, whether it's as a covers band, whether it's as a teaching business, whether then it's as a merchandise company, or whether it's something completely different. So yeah, thanks Dan for getting involved. So with this, I wouldn't be on all of the platforms. I just think this is where it's dangerous, because when you start and you're a one-man band, or you've just got a couple of people, then you creatively, you feel like you don't want to miss out, and then you're on all the platforms. I wouldn't do that. If I were you, on a skate shirt company, for me, I would keep it very, very simple. This is what I would do. I would make really great t-shirts, which you obviously do. I'd be on Instagram. I would find someone really hot. I'd find a really hot girl, and I'd find a really hot dude, and I'd be taking pictures of the t-shirts, and I'd probably do that 2 or 3 times a day. I'd be putting a small amount of money into boosting competitions to win t-shirts. I would be looking at with the Instagram stuff. I would be looking at going onto the this is a Gary Vaynerchuk thing, but going onto the messages and actually finding cool people and actually messaging them, people, skaters for example, and using the influencer marketing thing, which is really big. So I'd be going to whoever your real demographic is, the people that they look up to. So I'd be going on to whoever the skaters are of today, because I don't know who today's Tony Hawk is, but find today's Bob Burnquist, find today's Tony Hawks, and just say, like John Hill or someone like that, John Hill's a good guy, and actually say to him, can I send you some t-shirts? If so, would you mind wearing them, and tell me what you think and send me a picture? I mean that's what I do. Like, if you notice, this is a t-shirt company question, but I'm constantly saying, send me t-shirts, and I'll wear your t-shirts, and we'll put stuff on the wall. So there's gonna be people that want free shit. Everyone likes free shit, especially cool t-shirts. Like, no one wants, this is the same as everything, content or stuff to be sent through. We all want free shit. Even PewDiePie wants free shit. It's just that PewDiePie wants a free Mercedes-Benz and I want a free t-shirt. But everybody wants free shit, and it's just quality stuff. I want cool t-shirts and I don't want crappy t-shirts. I want to be sent cool music and I want to be sent crappy music. So I think, I would use the influencer marketing side to it, and I would be sending it to people and saying, look, if I send you some t-shirts, would you mind checking them out, tell me what you think, maybe take a picture with it so I can put it on my Instagram, I can promote you can promote the t-shirts. I'd be really happy with that. You might have to send a bunch of t-shirts when nothing happens, but on the whole, what you will get then is you will get some really good shots of some really cool people that people look up to wearing your stuff, and at that point you can really go to town on the social media you've got. Social media that I would use is Instagram. I think that's the best one because t-shirts lends itself so well to Instagram. You need to be on Facebook because Facebook is just one of those monsters at the moment. If you want to do something, sort of something different, you could go down the vlog route on YouTube. But I think it's too easy to find reasons to be on social media platforms. Oh, if you really want to be on YouTube, you could do this. If you really want to go on LinkedIn, you can do this. And I'm thinking, well, you could build your entire business on Instagram. So if it were me, would I do anything else? I probably wouldn't. I would be on Instagram and I would nail that shit. I would just wake up and I'd have my phone in my hand and I would Instagram all day, and I'd find people and I'd send them stuff, and I'd find people and say, oh, I love your t-shirt, I make t-shirts, here's another t-shirt, and I'd talk to people. And if I'm going to do that, then I wouldn't really need to be on Twitter to promote it. So I feel like if I was going to do this sort of company, I think I would go all in on Instagram, at least until I had a bit more time and budget and people that I could say, right, we need to expand a bit more now. I've got some ideas for social media. But, what I do at the moment is I'm on all the platforms because I'm trying to learn all the platforms. And it's so much harder than if I just went, oh, do you know what? I want to be a personality. I'm going to just be a personality on Instagram. I'd have nailed it by now. Like, I would have had 3 times the amount of subscribers and followers as I already have, because I wouldn't be going, oh shit, I need to spend 20 minutes on Twitter. Oh, I've got half an hour and just jump onto Instagram and do some stuff. I wouldn't do that. I'd be able to go all in, talking to people every day and building relationships without saying, oh, I'll be back in a minute. Oh, I'll be back in a minute. And therefore I would go all in on it. And that's what I would do. And I feel like Instagram is the perfect company right now to really build a relationship with a bunch of people and show off your t-shirts in really, really good form. I would also say that it is an aesthetical thing, so a good camera and actually or finding someone who can take good shots is really, really important.
Yeah, and with what you were saying about competitions as well, Instagram's so good for that because there's such a wide audience.
Absolutely, yeah. Competitions is so much fun as well because nowadays, people use why we should talk about competitions on another show because it's a much bigger topic and it's a really, really clever way of doing things. What people do is they take something of a small amount of value and they try to add 10 times the amount of value for it. So what they do is they take a t-shirt and they say, I've spent £10 making this t-shirt. I'm going to give this away and I'm going to try and get £1,000 worth of advertising with the t-shirt. But the problem is then people they might not understand it, but they just go, oh, I can't be asked, well, that's it. You've taken 3 weeks to get rid of a t-shirt. We haven't got time. This is just very simple. If I can get 10 quid's worth of advertising out of 10 quid, I'm doing fine. So if I'm going to do a competition, it's going to be something like this: win a Skype with me or win a t-shirt. Who wants a t-shirt? First person to comment gets a t-shirt. Everyone goes, oh, comment. You do the same thing the next day, the next day, the next day. You're not trying to just eke out the last little bit of everything from a competition. You're just doing them small things regularly, and t-shirts is perfect for that.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. I'll go on to question number 3, which is from Rose, who's asking, what would you advise to an aspiring vocalist? I'm not so keen on becoming an artist as such, but would love to do vocals for sync work or professional BBs for other artists.
And this is something that I feel very, very strongly about, very passionately about, because when we set up BIM back in the day, Tuesday afternoon, we debated at the time whether or not we should have vocals, because we just understood guitar, bass and drums so well, but we understood that we needed to have vocals to make it into that band thing. And we like the idea of singing guitarists and singing bass players, but the idea of just singers, we just wanted to make sure that we had enough value to look after them. Obviously then we did it, we brought on singers, but all the way through there was always this slightly ostracized group of singers that could sing, that couldn't play instruments, that weren't songwriters, but they were just very, very talented at what they would do. They were very talented singers. The problem with that is being very talented at singing without a career plan is still going to end up in probable failure. And so what happens is people just go, yeah, I went to college, I did sing, and I really liked it. What do you do now? Something else. Or they just go into that, I'm now a teacher, or I just do cover stuff. And while those things are fantastic, and I'm a big advocate for those things, not for a career. Like, I think if you're going to go down the teaching route, then teaching 20 people a week is fantastic, but what are you going to do in 10 years' time? How is it going to progress? Because otherwise you will get bored of it. If you're going to do cover stuff, that's fantastic. However, what are you going to do in 10, 20, 30 years' time? Because if you ask anybody that gigs 2 or 3 times a week, do you want to be doing this in 30 years' time? There'll be 2% of it go, yeah, but the other 98% will go, not really, no, this is something I like to do now, but I'm not looking 30 years' time. So, you know, in that case, what is the career plan? And I think when it comes to singers, one thing that they don't do is they don't do the thing that they're so good at. They don't show off their vocals, and therefore it becomes vague. So yesterday I was having a chat with someone about social media and how there's not enough social media degrees. There's not social, and I said the thing with this is we are talking about social media degrees. The problem with that is that's like saying sport degree. Social media is so technical now. It's so big and it's so technical that every aspect of it is a degree. Like, not social media, just like sport. You break it down into so many different categories. So I think when it comes to being a vocalist, like you've put a few things on there, understanding things like sync work, understanding session work, understanding BVs, every single one of these is a career in itself. But what singers do is they just go, right, well, I'm a singer, so I could lend myself to all of these things, and therefore you haven't specialized into one thing. Because if you want to be a studio singer, then why would someone take you in the studio if you are not recording yourself every single day? Because as a bass player, I mean, I've gigged 2 or 3 times a week for 20 years. So I've probably done, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 gigs. So you know that when I go on a gig as a bass player, if something goes wrong on that gig for me as a bass player, you better believe that if I haven't gone through it, if this is something that I can't fix on the day, then you know you're in safe hands that probably no one else could, because I've been on that many gigs. Now, me in the studio, different ballgame. I have not been I am not a studio bass player. So I have been in the studio with bands and I've had a really good time, but I haven't had a career of it. So whilst I've spent 1,500 to 2,000 days on the road gigging, getting better and better and better at gigging and my instrument, studio is just a little bit different. And I've probably been in the studio, I don't know, 60 days, maybe 70, 80 days. It's a very different. So my experience as a recording bass player is very, very different to my experience in a band. And people will say, well, it's all bass playing, but it's not. It's just slightly different. It's just slight differences that you just get used to it. When the energy that you have live versus the energy and also technical ability that you have in the studio, the sounds that you use in the studio, the way it works in the studio, there's just tiny, tiny differences. And so if you're going to want to do something as a singer, you can't have, I don't think you can have it vague. I think you need to actually really focus on the thing that you want to do, and in which case your skill set's important. So one of the things you said there, and one of the things we were talking earlier on, is lots and lots of singers who are thinking, well, I want to be, get involved in sync work or something like that. Now, you also have to be aware of your skill set. So as a singer, for example, if you are really, really good at impressions and different styles, then that is going to lend itself to sort of session singing. If you are just you and you have a very, very unique voice, that does tend to lend itself more to an artist. So I don't know if you ever saw that Ariana Grande did her impressions of all the great singers, and she did everyone from Britney and Celine Dion and Whitney and Mariah Carey. I mean, it was just jaw-droppingly amazing how talented that girl is as a singer. So she's got so many options. She's beautiful, she's an amazing artist, she's an amazing singer, she works really hard, she can do all that stuff, she can do anything. However, most people don't have that. But some people are good at be able to understand different genres. I don't think there's many singers that do. I think most singers just go, well, this is the way I sing, take it or leave it. So I think the question, Rose, is, before you start to go into what you're going to do, it's what skill set have you got, and what would you be happy looking forward to being able to do every single day for the rest of your life, and then working towards that. And if you want to go down being a recorded session singer, then you need to record every single day. If you want to be BVs, and here's another thing with singers is they always go, I'm really good at BVs, and I just think, well, are you though? Just because you can sing a third above the vocals and it matches nicely, is that being a professional BV artist? Because if I said to you, sorry, you're just gonna have to take the fourth below, that harmony, do it. That's a really, really tough thing to do. There's your vocal melody. Go away, take it away. I just want a fourth below. Off you go. That is tough. It's not just I'll sing the third, you sing the root. That's not just the way with BVs. There's so much more to it. You know how you move on stage when people do that kind of. I'm like, oh, it's that classic click your fingers BV thing. You know, all of those things. What sets you apart as a BV artist? So I would say, what is it that you want to do? Because singing is like saying sport. It's just way too vague. You know, if I said, I want to be a sports person, and you said, brilliant, that's fantastic, what do you want to do? And if I said, basketball player, you'd be like, oh, no, dude, you're like 5'10". You're like a foot too short. So then it's not realistic. And while people go, you can do it, and I'm like, well, you can, I mean, possibly, but what's the chances of like a Welsh 5'10" hairy guy being a basketball player? Slim, isn't it? So I would say, look at your skill set, look at what you love, look at what you're passionate, be realistic with it, but then go all in on the area that you want to study. And if it's BVs, if it's sync work, you need to be recording every single day. Every day. Like all day, every day. If you want to get into songwriting, what do? You write songs all day, every day. You can't just go, I'm a really good singer, give me a gig. So that's what I would say. I would say this is too vague. You need to actually break this down into the area that you want to go into.
And would you say if you do kind of set out this plan for yourself that there is actually kind of room for success as a vocalist?
100%. And that's why so many singers aren't successful, is because if I said to you, I love football and rugby and cricket and golf, you'd say, well, you can't, like, that's not realistic. You've got to do one, because every one of them's got tiny differences of your nutrition through to your training, through everything, your technique, everything's different. So yeah, there's definitely room for a lot of success in all of these, and you can bypass 80% of all the people. If you're watching this and you're on a course or have finished a course, you can bypass 80% of all the other people. I know this, I've been there, I've done it, I've seen it. 80% of them by just being more specific in what you want to do. Because there's far, far too many singers who go on a course, and when I have a chat with them, go, I don't really know what I want to do, to be fair. I just like singing. And I'm like, nah, that's not good enough.
No. Yeah, but I suppose, as you say, if you kind of plan it out ahead, like, it can definitely happen. Okay, bro. So then this is the final questione. This is from Kira. It's asking, what should I be looking to achieve in the next 1 year? I've left my band now and have gone solo. My 5-year plan is to sustain my living standards through my music.
Great. This is actually a very interesting question, because this is something I've had, weirdly enough, I had a Skype meeting with a guy this week, and we had a very similar kind of conversation. And when you said about this question, I was really interested because of that. And this idea of 1 year and 5 year, I find very, very interesting. This idea that I have to set myself up for 1 year and 5 year. And if I ask Kira, what is, for want of a more American word, but what is the legacy that you want to leave behind? What are we actually doing so that when you finish doing this, what are you going to look back on and be the most proud of? I think if you look at that as a question, you are going to change your 1 year and your 5 year goals, because people, when they look at 1 year and 5 year goals, are constantly looking forwards. They're constantly saying, right, okay, well, I want to, even though it feels like they're looking backwards, I'll get to my 1 year plan and work backwards. But we're still looking forwards. What am I going to do over the next year so that then after 5 years, so then after 10 years, after 15 years? If you look at legacy, if you look at what is going to be the thing that you leave behind, and if that is, I just want people to love my music, then that's a very different legacy than over the next year. What I would like to do is I would like put music out, even though they're very, very similar. So I would like people to stop to almost stop with this idea of 1 year and 5 year. I know it's important to have your 5-year plan because your mum says, because that's what the way it works is your mum says you've got to have a 5-year plan because anyone who hasn't got a 5-year plan is a fucking loser. Not really, because if you've got a legacy, then that trumps every year plan to me. And I would prefer people to look at that when they're planning their career and to look at the end goal. So for me, if I said, I want everybody to know that when it comes to music education, I'm the best in the world. Like, nobody is better than me. And the weird thing is I fucking believe that. Like, there isn't anyone better than me. There's just nobody better in the entire world when it comes to helping musicians. There's just nobody better than me. I'm fucking amazing at it. I am the best at it. But my end goal is for everyone else to realise that on top of myself. And so with that in mind, that's what I'm working towards. That's the legacy. And then when I break it down to 1 year and 5 year, that's fine. I've got goals and targets and stuff. That's fine. But for me, the end goal is everybody in the whole world who's anything to do with music needs to go, to be fair, this dude knows what he's talking about. That's the end goal. And so therefore, every day I'm saying I'm taking one step closer to that, one step closer to that. And not because when I also add in a 1 year goal, I'm adding pressure straight away. I'm adding pressures, and this week, last week when this goes out, we've had the mental health thing, which I want to keep going on. I really want to talk more about that with the Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell thing, which was so incredibly sad, and just the amount of people who reached out to me saying, I'm struggling, or I just don't know if I've got what it takes, or I'm depressed, or whatever it is. And it was like very moving, just reading all this stuff. I found it very, very difficult. But then what we do is we go and add extra pressure and just say, my 1 year plan, what I have to achieve in the next year, otherwise I'm a fucking failure. And it's like, we're making it harder for ourselves as musicians, and I don't think that's the way. Whereas we won't look back when we're 80 at that 1 year. What we will do is we'll look back at a body of work and we will appreciate what we've done. And if we say, I want to be really proud of the music I make, or I want to be able to put records out I want to put records out that people love, all of these things are taking pressures away from you instead of adding time pressures onto you, which are only going to make it harder and harder and harder, because we always set really high targets for ourselves, because that's the way we are as humans. That's the way as creatives and as musicians, we're like, oh man, if I could just get to this bit here. And all of a sudden, 6 months in, you're like, fuck, this is actually harder than I thought. Yeah. And all of a sudden we're not getting to where we want to get to. And then we start panicking and we start throwing everything at it, or giving up, or just getting depressed. It's too much pressure, I think. So I would like to look at everyone thinking about the legacy instead of the 1 year plan or the 5 year plan. What would you like to be recognized for? What would you like to look back and be proud of? Not just other people, because I don't just want this to be about what do other people think of you. Fuck that, I don't give a shit about that. What do you want to look back on your life and say, I'm really proud of the things that I did? And if you could look forward now and say, what is it that I want to be able to say about that? What is the thing when I look back at older farty Damo, and say, what does older farty Damo say? I want him to say, I'm really proud that these videos that we did every single day helped musicians. Did money come into the equation? Not once. There was not one part of me that just kind of went, oh, I'm really proud that I made some money out of my videos. I don't care about that. So that's what I would like. That's what I'd like Kira to think about. I'd like her to think about not the 1 year. I know this is not quite answering the question, but I think if you go back to the drawing board and say, stop, take the 1, take the 5 out, and just say, what do you want to be proud of when you finish your life? And therefore, now work forward to it. And I think in that case, now that you've left the band and you've gone solo, what's the most important thing? Is the most important thing making music that you're proud of? Is it that that you are consistent with giving value to your audience? Is it that you got to play some gigs that you were really proud of? What is it that we're looking for on legacy? That's what I'd like to do. So I'd like to take out the 1 year and the 5 year. I'd like everyone to do that, and then we'll put the 1 years and 5 years in on a slightly different way without the pressure. I'd like to have people having less pressure on their 1 year plans, which I think is probably a subject for another day.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's kind of going back to what you were saying the other week about having kind of like 60 years with which to just to keep learning, and it definitely does take a lot of pressure out of the equation.
Yeah, because the other day I did a talk, and right at the end, the guy said, what there was 4 of us on the panel, and he said, what would your final thoughts be? And everybody did this kind of like, start today, you can fucking do it. And I was like, okay, whoa. You got fucking time here. Even if you're 40, you've still got 20 to 30 years. There's no fucking panic. Let's not try and actually put so much pressure on ourselves that we're going to fail within the next 6 months. And I think that's the bit, you know. I want to do a video on this later, but someone said to me today, and it was very kind of them, they said, I love watching your videos, they're really motivational. And I was like, for some really weird reason, I got angry. I was like, I'm not fucking motivational. I'm an instruction manual. I'm telling you what to do. Like, if you go and buy something from IKEA, the last thing you need is me standing next to you going, you can do it! You can build the wardrobe! That's not going to help in any way whatsoever. I fucking hate that shit. It's fucking bullshit. What you need is someone going, hang on a minute, that bit goes in that bit there. That's what you need, and that's what I do. So, yes, thank you very much if you think I'm motivational, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to tell you how to get to the next bit. And I think being a strategist is like, for me, is more important to what I want to achieve than being motivational. Because I can just come on here every day and go, yeah, just fucking watch me, man. I'm going to fucking do this. And hopefully it's going to bring you motivation. Oh, fuck off. I don't give a shit about bullshit. I'm going to say, this is what you're doing wrong. This is how you can fix it. And this is how you can take pressure away. And there's a rant to finish on.
Sweet. Well, we'll leave it there on that note.
Cool. So thank you very much for watching. I would love it if you'd subscribe to the YouTube, to the Facebook, whatever you want to subscribe to is fine by me. But more importantly, what I'd love you to do is I'd love you to leave a comment under this video, whichever video it is, and just say whatever your thoughts are. If you want to hit me up, just say hi. Just comments, they make my day, because I get a lot of messages through. It's very difficult to actually go through all the messages on Facebook, but the comments, because they come in all throughout the day, and they just pop up. It's just nice and easy for me to read them, and it's very nice. So leave a comment, subscribe, like, do all the usual shit. Share it if you really, really fancy it. But if we can finish, if I can have that, I think we finish on a very strong message, which effectively is thank you very much.
Life motto.
See you again soon.